And it is a pleasure this week to welcome back Sawyer Bailey with ADKAction. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Your nonprofit is working with partners to combat climate change, and one way is through the Adirondack Compost for Good project. How is that helping communities and individuals to reduce their carbon footprint?
That's a good question, because when you think of compost, you might not think of climate change mitigation, but for us the thread is really strong, because when you compost food scraps, and there is a lot of food scraps to be composted, 1 in every 3 bites of food doesn't make it to the table. All of those food scraps, when they're digested aerobically, they don't produce methane. Preventing that is one of the major sources of climate change, exacerbation in temperature. When we keep all that in the ground, it allows us to sequester more carbon to prevent that increase in the rise of temperature. But at the same time, it also builds really healthy soils for our farms to help them support future crops.
How many communities have signed on for the project?
We have 7 communities that are actively operating drum composters across the state. Actually, 6 of them are here in the Adirondacks.
And how can folks learn more if they're interested or they'd like their community to get involved?
Well, right now we actually have an opportunity for a new community, a business, a farm, any institution to actually apply for their very own drum composter free of charge. And you can learn more about that opportunity and the whole Compost for Good project on our website.
Your food security project also, in a number of ways, helps to fight climate change. Many local farms are using sustainable practices. They're selling locally grown foods closer to home, so that reduces the miles and the waste of having to truck and transport food to stores across the region and across the country.
It's very true. Food miles, as we call it, can be really high when you're buying traditional food from a traditional grocery store. Very often it's produced in a large-scale farm out west or internationally. So by the time the food gets to you, not only is it not as fresh, but it has a lot of carbon emissions associated with it. When you're buying food from right next door, that food is so fresh, probably grown in a sustainable and very diversified farm, and it's kept a lot of that carbon emission in the soil and out of the roadway.
And your aim is to help people also eat locally grown, nutritious food.
That's our primary goal, is really to make access to fresh, healthy food available to everyone, no matter where they live and no matter how much they make.
And a lot of people may not think of this, but perhaps they will in the coming years. The region is also a place that may very well see an influx of climate refugees in the next few years, people escaping the heat and the effects of climate change in other parts of the country and moving here to the Adirondacks. So to that end, you're working with other groups and communities to make sure that there's enough affordable housing for them.
It's very true, and I think we're already really seeing an influx of new residents from changes in environmental conditions across the country. I think even a lot of the smoke we've seen this summer has drawn new residents for the Adirondacks. We know this is going to be a climate refuge from a lot of the increases in temperature and extreme weather and in smoke. So with that comes the real need to create a proportional ratio of accessible housing. We've been able to do that really in partnership with brilliant communities and community leaders in creating new land banks. There was already some interest in this tool, and ADKAction really worked to try to fan the flames and bring together a lot of really smart people across the state who are already learning the best and the latest about land banks to try to help our counties find a way to begin using this tool up here. There are 26 other land banks across New York State, but none that are primarily operating up here until this year. And I think we're in the process of seeing 3 new land banks emerge, Franklin County, Essex County, and Clinton County. And I have a feeling we will see more follow.
A huge priority for you folks is clean water, protecting water through your road salt reduction project, and that's a project that you are looking to expand, and you've just received a new grant to help do that?
We've been very lucky to receive strong support from the Lake Champlain Basin program and from some really forward-thinking private individuals who see the need for more work to be done on the regional level on road salt reduction. In a place like the Adirondacks, where so many of us drink from private wells, and we know that by and large our private wells are being contaminated downstream of state roads, but also some town and some county roads, there's a lot of work for us to do on the town and county level.
And how many communities do you have involved now, and are more coming on board?
We started our pilot year of the Clean Water Safe Roads Network working with 6 towns and counties, and this year I have a feeling we'll work with 12 engaging villages, towns, and counties across the park thanks to this new unrestricted funding, because I think this is a model that can really scale. ADKAction serves as the hub in a series of spokes that provides our highway departments with hands-on workshops, technical expertise, support on speed dial when they are trying to make decisions about what to put down on the road, and really to build camaraderie between all our highway departments that are each facing similar challenges but have different resources and different questions to work through.
They've had some real success in the Lake George watershed, the village of Lake George, the town of Hague, and others, using new technology that really helps them determine when the roads need to be treated and new options that are an alternative to road salt.
Definitely. New technology has been a game changer, and it helps us really broaden the issue from just the question of do you salt or do you not salt. It's brought a whole bunch of different complex levers to light about how do we keep our roads safe but also protect our water. So, I mean, you mentioned new technology around should we use salt trackers, should we calibrate our trucks, to what extent are we letting salt come out the gate, is it pausing when the truck is stopped, does it have a maximum speed limit? All of these things are really just the tip of the iceberg, and it helps empower our plow operators and our highway superintendents to try to be applying the least amount of material needed to keep the road safe, but also make sure it's not just bouncing and scattering off. You're not just plowing off what you put down.
Is the state jumping on board? Assemblyman Billy Jones headed up a state task force on road salt that included the DOT and DEC. Are we still waiting on a report that summarizes how much of a threat it is and whether state agencies will get on board and recommend that communities and even state highway crews find ways to reduce the use of salt?
We're really thankful for Assemblyman Jones' leadership on this issue, and we know that the task force has been working away for quite some time now on this report. We're eager to see it. We have not seen it yet.
Another project designed to help the environment and farmers and growers, the Pollinator Gardens that you've helped seed, including ours here at Mountain Lake PBS, which is thriving, by the way. Here are some pictures Logan Brody from our staff took this week of some visitors we've had to our Pollinator Garden. Why are these gardens so important and critical?
I'm so glad to hear the garden is thriving. It looks wonderful. We have 25 other of these pollinator demonstration gardens across the region, and we find that they really make an outsized impact for pollinators. Most of our insect pollinators have a 3 square mile radius in which they can forage. So just that one couple of square feet of habitat makes a really big difference to provide them with staple food and a place to rest for their long journey ahead of them.
Sawyer Bailey, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Tom.